Welcome to the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. We're going to explore ways to sharpen our diagnostic skills, find learning resources, and hear from experts in the automotive field. Hello, automotive world. What's going on? This is the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. My name is Sean Tipping. I will be your host today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today on the show, I have a very special guest joining me, Tomi Oliva. Tomi is a shop owner, mobile diagnostic technician, and a member of Trained by Techs. And if you're not familiar with Trained by Techs, you're going to hear all about it today. I am very excited to have Tomi on the show with me today. So with that being said, let's jump right into the interview. All right, Tomi, how's it going? Thanks for coming on the show today. I appreciate it.
What's up, my dude? What's up, everybody? Thanks for having me.
It's kind of short notice. I'm glad you're able to make it on here.
Yeah, man. No, for sure, man. I'm glad to be here, talking with one of Facebook's finest.
Thank you. So you, for all listeners, anybody who's not familiar, you own a shop in Chicago, Illinois. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have a brick and mortar store, or repair facility, and I also just started fully into a mobile diag and programming business.
Oh, really? Okay, that's awesome. So just doing like module programming and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean anything, man. Module programming, diag, electrical repair. Yeah, anything you can do mobile. The only thing I don't do yet is like YF and stuff like that. But
okay,
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I read a couple guys posts on figuring that out to do a mobile service, and there definitely be some potential there because there's so many shops who don't have any means to do that right now for charging the 1234 systems.
Yeah, I my area is I'm still kind of in the ghetto, so don't really see a lot of it.
Okay.
But it's definitely something I've considered. They're out there, so
yeah.
Maybe.
I think this summer was the most that I saw in shops. Because I do a lot of independent repair shops, and I hadn't seen a ton. I just heard about it, guys in the dealership and stuff. But this summer there was a number of them, so it's definitely coming. Cool. Well, yeah. So when I was on Facebook and I read the name of your shop, it's San Jose. Was it San Jose Repair? And
yep,
for some reason, I thought you're out in California, of course.
Here's a funny story. I get that so many times, man. Like I get it a lot. Like, oh, how's Cali? It must be nice. I'm like, what? No. So my dad, he bought a little rinky-dink tire shop across the street where we're at currently, and the day he bought it, his idea was to buy the business and use the same name so his idea was not to lose the clientele, and the owner was fine with it. But during that period, Chicago had this stupid rule that if you can't have a business on the same street with the same name. So the gentleman owned two shops with the same name, except one said number 1, another one said number 2. So They just, when he went and went to City Hall, did all the paperwork, they told him, you need to change the name. And he's like, well, I don't have a name. They're like, well, what do you want us to do? So my dad, obviously, he immigrated from Guatemala. He's a diehard Catholic. His name is Jose. And his saint is Jose. So San Jose means Saint Jose. So that's why like a lot of the cities in California they're actually saint names, so.
Okay.
So that's the only thing that occurred to him. So he called it San Jose Tire Shop. And we've been there for 20 something years. So when I decided to say, F this, I'm not interested in tires anymore. This is becoming a general repair facility because the shop's nice. He built one. And I'm like, I was trying to figure out what to call it. Like I couldn't figure out what to call it. And my mom was like, you can call it whatever you want, but honestly, the name means something to the neighborhood. We've been there for 20 something years. So I just said, all right, now it's going to be San Jose's Automotive Center. So that's what I came up with. I honestly don't like it, but
Okay.
I do, well, because of the association. People still, I mean, to this day, like after COVID, I abruptly stopped doing tires. I just said, you know what, man, like we still did them for like a good customer or not, but it became such a waste of time. And it's not a bad, tires isn't bad. It's just, um, I'm heavier right now on diag and electrical. So it's
Yeah.
like it's really difficult to bust out 4 tires while I'm trying to figure out why cylinder number 2 is only misfiring under load.
Yeah, no
So
kidding.
it's definitely got old. But yeah, that's the story for the San Jose. So
Okay.
I'm glad you asked because I can finally tell my side of the story.
That's awesome. So, well, that's also really cool. That so you took over your dad's shop, or does he still work with you, or?
No, I took over, man. He actually I actually took over in I actually took over in 2006. So if a little brief history of me, I worked with my dad through high school and then even through UTI. I went to UTI. When I finished, me and my dad had some changes, some differences of opinion. Like he's adamant on the tires, and you know, there's so much you can do with used tires because that's what the business was. It was just used tires and some new tires, and eventually there's a ceiling to it, which we were at already. And you already started seeing trends in the neighborhood, and I was starting to get busier with the mechanical stuff. But since we were also busy with the tire stuff, my day was tires, and then my evenings was mechanical work. So it was getting old. Um, I had an opportunity. A job came up in Orlando, and just so happened that two of my best friends had moved down there, so I had a place to stay. So I moved. I moved to Orlando. I went my separate way, and I get there, and my job was filled.
Oh,
So
geez.
I was like, oh, spent a few weeks. I had some money saved up. I didn't care. I spent a few weeks just enjoying Florida, and I ended up getting a lube job at a dealer. But then when they realized that I actually had experience with wrenching, they put me on as a line tech, and I was there for pretty much almost a whole year. But my dad got really sick, and I had some situations in Florida. I moved back with the pretense of helping him sell the bit, stay with him because he was going to sell the business. And then I was going to save up some more money so I can move back to Florida. And it was actually everything was working towards there, but I kind of just stayed, man. Like it was a little difficult to sell the place, and I just, it was going well financially, so I was like, it made no sense to move, so I stayed, and it was still the same issue with my pops, back and forth with the tires and stuff. And finally, we just did it. We went automotive, and it's been a learning experience for sure. Um, I have no, and I still don't really I have a better idea, but I think I don't belong owning a shop at this point in my life. So I think more than likely I'm gonna stick to mobile for the time being. See where
Okay.
see where that leads me.
Okay. And how's that going for you so far doing the mobile stuff? It's an interesting job to say the least.
Um, you know what, man? I every time I do something, it's to kind of lower my stress levels and my anxiety levels, and then I realize, you know what? This isn't as bad, but it still has its anxiety levels. Like case in point, right now, I diagnosed a car that had the wrong engine in it. Um, but the installer swears up and down that it's the proper engine, blah blah blah, and then he's a computer. So I tell them, okay, well, at this point, it's really, do you believe me or do you believe, the other place? They're like, well, let's just try this computer. I said, okay, but the charge is $175. I will just being clear here. Of course, I get there, they install the computer, I program it, and I'm done, and it doesn't start. And then it's like, well, you're sure your programming's fine? I said, look, VIN numbers right here, latest calibrations here. I go, I did an entire sweep. Your same symptoms are still here. Thank you very much. Oh, but you really can't leave me like this. I said, listen, man. I go, I gave you my diag. I go, you kind of chose to believe the other guy, which is fine. That's fair. I understand, but now you're gonna pay me. So that type of stuff is annoying, but I still feel that it's not as bad as ever since you did my brakes, my rear tire is crooked, and I forget to
Yeah.
mention that I hit a pothole, and that's why my tire's crooked. Like like the type of stuff. So it definitely does come with its challenges. I enjoy the chase. I really like doing diag. It's not profitable, to be very honest with you. There's more profit in running and gunning programming. Keys. I'm into keys now. I do have some keys machine. I do have a key machine, some stock. Um, so yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I think that's where my future lies for me at this moment.
Yeah, you got to have the passion for that part of it for
Mm.
sure, to make that your full-time gig. Because yeah, like you said, you can make a ton of money just hanging parts even. um I remember just on flat rate, you don't really need that many diagnostic skills. Maybe one guy in the shop has it, and you can just blast suspension parts all day long and make a ton of money. And there's nothing wrong with that, but for the diagnostic side of it, I guess, yeah, you just gotta have that drive. You gotta really want it.
Which is really a shame. If I was having this conversation with a good friend, another mobile guy who's based out of Northwest Indiana, and we were having this conversation. I said, "Dude, this is sad, man. Like, it's sad that we had to resort to mobile work. Most honestly, in the last few years, most of my really good buddies in the industry, well, they're my friends. I call them my friends. Have had situations in shops where they actually just rage quit or were let go for whatever dumb reason, and they ran off on their own, and now they're doing awesome. And um, it's sad, man. It's sad that the amount of knowledge that you need to have, and you can't find a good paying job. Like, it's just I don't understand um how most of these shops can not have like one good diet guy. Like I don't get it. And there's a lot of things out there that need to change in the industry, man. And I also had a conversation, and a lot of mobile guys aren't going to find this because I know Dusty.
Mhm.
He made a good point to me one day that mobile guys are actually we kind of hurt the industry a little bit, because we actually help the shops that honestly shouldn't even be in business. And that's a little sad, man, but it's kind of the unfortunate reality right now, because we love what we do, but doing mobile work kind of just allows us to thrive in our greatest strengths, which is diagnostics. Because most shops, the way that the industry is and the way that they're run, you can't afford to have a sole diag guy. It's just almost
It's
impossible.
it kind of crazy. I go to there's a shop I go to. They don't even have like internet or a computer there, and I don't know how you get through the day on a modern car. I go out there quite frequently for diagnostics and stuff, and they're just more along the lines that they literally just want to hang parts on stuff. But even that nowadays, I don't know. And like you said, yeah, how's that shop going to do in the long run? How are they going to hold up in industry? And it's kind of crazy to see that out there. But yeah, to pay a guy just to be there all day to diagnose stuff. Maybe at the dealerships you might find that. Otherwise, I don't know that you'd find that at a whole lot of other shops. I'm sure there's some out there.
Oh, the ones that are doing it right, they're there. Even at that point, man, most of the really really good shops really can't afford to have a sole diet guy. Diet guy has to kind of pull his weight in other departments to make a good salary. And that's what has kind of kept me from, also, because there was a time point where I'm just like, dude, this isn't working, man. Like, I'm busting my butt, um, working all these hours. I'm not making nothing. I'm pulling money left and right to pay my guys and pay me. And it honestly took the whole COVID lockdown to make me realize what I'm doing wrong, but also realize that anything you do, man, you have to really want and like it. And I realized that I kind of don't like owning a shop. Maybe in another time and maybe in a different location where I'm at, is my vision for a shop is not feasible in the area I'm in. And I've come to terms with it. I've come to peace with that. You know what? I didn't fail. It just didn't work out, and time to move on. And I think mobile will help launch me to that next area. If not, then I tried, you know.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, that's what it's all about. You gotta follow what makes you want to jump out of bed in the morning. You do that, and most of the time, everything else is gonna work out for you. That's at least that's what I've always found.
Yeah, no, there's some definitely great companies and great opportunities out there, but I don't know about you. I'm a very independent person, man. I'm a very free spirited person. My buddy Isaac Rodiesel, he said something really interesting to me one time. He's like, "You're broke on your own terms." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, sounds about right. I'm broke, but you know, if I want to go in and take an appointment at 9 or at 7 in the morning, I can do whatever I want. If I want to say, hey, I'm not working this weekend because I want to go do something else, that means a lot to me."
That's what they say about, yeah, self-employed people is they're the only people out there that will work 80 hours a week so they don't have to work 40 hours a week. And it's there's some truth to that, but yeah, it's the independence and the freedom to call the shots and yeah, decide, yeah, okay, I want I want the afternoon off, or I want to go do this or make this decision with the business. That's where it comes to be worth it.
For sure. So you're a mobile guy in up in Minnesota?
Yeah, so I teach in the fall at a community college for the automotive program, and then
Nice.
nights, weekends, and then the summertime, which has been a little extended this year. I do mobile work just in my kind of small town area. I'm
Yeah,
about
sharpen the irons.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I felt once I was actually out of the industry, I wasn't a tech anymore. I immediately felt like I was getting rusty and falling behind because stuff changes so quickly. And so I wanted something where I could stay up on it. But man, like you said, I really enjoy the diagnostic side of things, like going out there and working through challenges and learning all this new stuff. I
Mhm.
mean, that's it. It almost doesn't feel like a job, but there's days obviously that it just, kicks my ass, but it doesn't feel like a job when I'm really enjoying it. And that's why I spend all the time and money to do it.
Do you do programming as well?
I do for the just the big three, for GM Chrysler, and then most Asian stuff. I haven't gotten into anything European though.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's its own little ball game too. Definitely, it's definitely rewarding, man. I do enjoy it. I actually kind of want to teach, to be honest with you, but I haven't found my I don't feel ready for it yet. But I think I would probably take a stab at teaching.
Oh, it's incredibly rewarding, and I didn't feel ready, and I still don't feel ready. I feel humbled that I get to go in there and work with these students that are starting their careers. But man, it is so awesome. I've stayed connected with the graduates for the last few years, and just to see how, where they're going with it and what they're taking out of the program. I mean, that's the best. That's the best feeling. I would probably never stop doing that. That's for sure. That's why I went back. I knew I wanted to go teach eventually, even after I got a tech school. I'm like, I want to be back here somehow. And I was just really lucky to be able to get to do that.
I I just have some challenges to overcome aside from my own personal challenges that I have in terms of teaching and standing up in front of people and stuff. My issue is I just don't think it'll click. Like even though I went to UTI, but I don't think I could ever work there, and I think it's because I don't like corporate structure. I do not like it. Like I learned that as a dealer, I do not like corporate structure. It's just not for me. I'm a very hard worker, but I'm also like super opinionated. And I don't like something, I just don't like it, and I don't care. Um, but I've reached out to programs here for mentoring, and I have not found one that matches my ideals. The mentoring programs that I've seen here have kids working on hot rods and restorations and stuff, which it's not a bad thing, but it's not a found to me personally, it's not really a foundation that may not lead you anywhere. It's such an niche market. Yeah, you learn how to pull a carburetor off a 1960 something trap. Okay, fine, great, awesome, but what purpose is that going to serve you realistically? Nothing.
Yeah, there's only a few techs that are going to end up working in a specialty shop like
Exactly.
that.
The shade and the talent has to be so great that to be able to pursue that, and it's just a different aspect of the industry that I feel like um I want to teach you how to maintain and fix your own car. Like, I want to teach you that there's really good things about the industry still. I want to teach you some cool stuff. I want to hook up a scope and like, hey man, let's check out this car. That's what I want to do, but none of the programs I've seen have really fit that, and it's a little bit of a shame.
Well, on that note of training and everything, you are a member of Trained by Techs. I've mentioned this a few times before on the podcast. You guys have a ton of really cool stuff like the training calendar. I've been using that to keep up on the webinars and a bunch of YouTube videos. But could you fill everybody in if they're not familiar with what Trained by Techs is?
In a nutshell, we're just a group of guys who love this industry and feel like it needs to do better for itself. Like, if I had the power to do it, I just nuke the entire industry and just build it from the ground up. Like, it's so bad, and we fight. It's like we're fighting a battle as a technician. You're every day you fight a battle. You're fighting the car. You're fighting the vehicle manufacturer. You're fighting the motoring public. You're fighting, um, just in general. It's a fight, man. Like, when is it gonna stop? Like, um, we're all very passionate, and we're, except for myself, I'm sorry, we're all very intelligent. Um, that we can actually do something else. Like, my buddy, like Keith Perkins is a computer whiz. He has an IT degree, I think, and he's he's doing great now. I'm so proud of him. But like, he didn't have to go through all the stuff that he went through. You know, my buddy Pedro he's a genius. Like, he's extremely intelligent, but he loves working on cars. I mean, sorry, Pedro's not in the group, but he's a contributor.
Okay.
Um, everybody's such a genius in their own way in our group that they can definitely do something else. But we're here, we're in this industry. We all love it, and it's regardless of how bad it's been, it's given us a pretty decent life, man. And we love what we do, but we feel like that's not enough moving forward, man. We need to make this place better. Like, you yourself personally, I don't know if you have children. I don't. But if I had a kid right now and I want to follow in your footsteps, I'd be like, nope, do something else. You don't have to go to college. I'm not one of those. I won't be one of those parents that you have to go to college. No, get into a trade, something that pays you very well, and you don't have to be working on your free time, training. You don't have to, oh, I can't go out this weekend because I'm going to this training class that's only on the weekends, like, because I can't go during the week because I can't miss work. That's, in a nutshell, that's our end game. Like, we would like to bring training to the masses. Not everybody can make it a vision, man. Not everybody can make it to Super Saturday. It's just it's unfortunate, man. Like, it's really sad. Um, our mission is to help our technicians grow so we can grow the industry. Like I said, everybody can't make it out to the major training events, and our group has been fortunate to believe in training so much that we do make the trips. Hence, I'll fill you in on the backstory. I don't know if you have a cutoff time or not on
Oh
the
no, just
podcast.
go for
Oh,
it.
cool. So, actually, technically, our anniversary was this week, 3 years ago. So, and I know Brian. Yeah, you're gonna get mad, but I take a lot of credit for the beginning. I don't take credit for Train by Text. It's all of us. But 2017. Actually, no, I'm sorry. The 2016. I I saw a post on Facebook by a gentleman named Will, and it was a John Thornton training class. And I've heard of him, but I didn't know, he was local. So I was like, oh, sweet. So I met him. We went and I went to the class and I was blown away. And I was like, man, this is it. This is what I needed to finish launching my career, like to take it to the next level. So I started taking as much training as I could. In his class, he told me like, listen, man, if you really want to take it up another notch, he's like, you need to go to Vision. I was kind of shooken up because I have some sort of like, I think I'm okay socially, but I really am not. Like I didn't do well in like in social groups that I don't know. Like if I would have went with a buddy, I would have been fine. But to go to a place by myself with nobody, I was kind of like, oh shoot, like I was freaking out a little bit. But I sucked it up and I went. It was the best thing I ever did. Like Vision changed my career. It was an amazing experience. I met so many people that I'm still friends to this day. I came back to Chicago with a new mentality. Um, and then Auto Mechanica in 2017 was going to be in Chicago. So I was like, you know what? This is going to be a perfect opportunity to give back because I know of man, his name is escaping me right now. He's a gentleman that used to have that's out in Kansas City. Um, Brian Baker.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah. So he just kind of like threw his party out there. We met up at a bar, and I met so many people. I saw the faces behind the names on all the Facebook groups, and it was amazing. So I kind of like, you know what, man? I'm from Chicago. Let's do something. Like I know where to go. I know what to do. So I made a post with Jim Morton in one of the groups, and I was like, listen, anybody that wants to go, we're going to create a messenger group. It was actually me, Jim, and then Brian was one of the first ones in that group. And we just added people, and next thing you know, like it was an awesome time. Like, that first night that they came in, I met most of the future members of Train by Tex. Um, that was that first event. Um, moving on, and there was another event called the ASA Illinois CAN Conference. That's also a pretty big event here in Illinois. Um, we were stoked, like everybody was coming back in. Plus, there was another gentleman named Chris Martino who also asked to be added to the chat group. So it just kept going. And then the chat group just kind of kept growing, and every event it was kind of like somebody else would pop in, somebody else, and then in Vision 2018 we met Keith Perkins. So it just kind of like kept growing and growing, and then honestly, we got our start from a video that was made as a rebuttal to a Facebook argument. So it's just so he makes the first video, and then Bryn was like, "Well, I have a video," and then Tanner made a video, and Brian made a video. Like everybody just kind of started making videos, and then next thing you know, we just grew up. There's been some changes. A couple of members aren't with us anymore. They've gone on to to other things, but we're here. We're there. Some of our guys have their own YouTube channels, like Keith Perkins and Keith Fazio. Well, all of us, man, we're just about this group, man, and we're totally humbled and blessed, man. Like even we've had some roadblocks in the industry, unfortunately, man. But we've always kept a super low profile, but we're also trying to help, man. We sent 3 people to Vision 2019, man.
I was going to mention that. I mean, yeah, you guys are out there really genuinely helping people. It's not just posting videos. It's helping changing people's lives.
We care, man. We want to care. There was so much stuff that happened, but COVID unfortunately like reduced a lot of our momentum, man. But it also I'm glad it happened. I feel like anytime you have adversity, you always come out on top. And it teaches people, different things in life. And I feel like me personally, man, I think there's more that I can do to help. And then there's, also there's a new market for me. Like there's a lot of Spanish stuff that I can do. So all this is kind of dealing with all this because obviously I mean I can't speak for everybody. For me, man, the beginning of the COVID stuff was really bad. Like there was a lot of anxiety, a lot of unknowns. Your
Yeah.
whole way of life was just basically thrown into the garbage. So I just said, you know what, life is short. Let's screw it. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? You didn't go well. All right, cool. Let's move on. Because of the lockdown and everything, I lost that fear. Um, I the group is going great. Um, we're actually we're LLC, and I'm still waiting on a call back, but I'm about 85% sure we're actually a not for profit organization now.
Oh,
So
cool.
once that happens, man, you're gonna see a lot of us. We're gonna do raffles. We're gonna do a lot of stuff, man. Give out training classes. We've been partnering with ATG. We've given out training classes before, like, but we're just trying to see also where this is headed to, man. Because Brian and Bryn, they're going to the Pico Motherland to do a class.
Oh,
But
they're going to England?
yeah, they're going to England. They're going
Oh,
to the UK.
nice.
The gentleman that got Brandon Steckler over to the UK is
Oh,
asked Brian Brent to write a TV Pico class, and that's you got to bring your A game.
yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, man. So yeah, I'm super proud of them, man. Everybody's kind of doing something. Um, Keith has one of the it's not a TBT class, it's his own class, but Keith has literally the best programming class I've ever seen. Like hands down, I sat in his class. It was an amazing class. He's such a great teacher. He's such a great person. Um, Chris and Keith DeFazio are shaking up Bottle Logic, man. Everybody's just doing awesome, man.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, definitely some some really smart people in there for sure. That's awesome what you guys are doing. Um, so since this is a diagnostic podcast, I've been looking for somebody I could just chat back and forth with on some intermittent problem strategies. I've been running into a rash of them lately. That's the way it seems to go, where you can't get the car to act up, or it acts up for 1 second and then it's gone. It's always probably one of the more challenging things we deal with as technicians, is a problem that's not consistently there. It's not a hard fault. So I was just wondering, do you have what is your strategy? Especially now you're starting mobile. What is your strategy for something that's intermittent? That's tough to nail down.
I have a very simple strategy, and you may not like it, but I tell the shop or even the customer, listen, what's your time frame on your vehicle? Oh man, I really need it bad. Okay, then you need to bring it back when it's worse. But you can't fix it. I'm like, listen, if I spend 10 hours on this car trying to replicate this issue and I can't find it, I was, are you going to pay me for those 10 hours? Oh, of course not. Then you have your answer, sir or ma'am. I go, my first step, honestly. Because the worst thing you can have is a customer that's on your behind. Either it's be a shop or the shop's customer or your own customer. I go, that's number one. Um, so first things first, I need the time. I can't charge you 10, 12 hours I'm going to spend on it. I will charge accordingly, and I will charge for my repair. But at this point, either you suck it up and bring it back when it's worse, or you're going to pay me my time. And if they agree to whatever how much time you want, I get to it. Um, I tend to just interview the customer extremely well. I'll spend 30, 40, 50 minutes talking to the customer, picking up even, and if it's something driving, um come on, let's go for a drive. And the case in point for the driving, and I know this isn't drivability, but it just gave me a good example of one. When I worked at the dealership, it was a Nissan Hyundai dealer, and I was the only tech that was going back and forth. I would work on Hyundais or Nissans, whatever, or used cars. I didn't care. Um, I had a Hyundai Elantra. The gentleman swore up and down when you turn right, he heard a, a, a sort of a noise. He couldn't explain it, but it was just a weird noise. Okay, I inspected this vehicle like 4 times, man. I drove it. I even took this car home. Nothing. Finally, my CSI rating was on the hook. I tell the service writer, get this customer down here now. We're gonna figure this out today. He hops in the car. This guy's taking turns at 65 miles per hour in Florida. I said,
Jesus.
yeah, this car is squealing because you're not. It's not designed for what you're doing. He's like, what kind of car did you have? Oh, I used to drive a 300Z. Ah, oh, really? So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that. All that time I spent that I didn't get paid for could have been prevented by interviewing. Like once, obviously, if this isn't the same, right? But that was my starting point. So then after that, if it's like, let's say for example, a shifting flare, or you know, when I'm driving, my all my lights come out and blah blah blah. When it's something like that, all right, come on, let's go for a drive. Like I said, I literally spend my first hour talking to the customer, getting as much information as you can. Cause
Yeah.
and then I drive with them, like, hey man, come on, like go. I mean, I know mobile that's a little bit more difficult, but I demand those things because I need time. They're super intermittent. Like, and I don't want to waste too much time that I can pay for, because I don't know about you, for mobile, man. I have a extremely hard time charging for something and not giving you an answer.
Yeah.
If I can give you a clue or an answer, I'm happy. But if I don't know what the heck's going on, I can't do it. I just can't. That's just how I am.
Yeah, I feel the same way. If I don't leave them with some type of solution or possibility, yeah, I can't charge for the time. But uh, what you're saying, it's right on the nose. When I was at Firestone, that was the biggest thing for me is I wanted to talk to that customer if possible and not get the information, through a service writer or store manager, because they don't pick up on everything, because a lot of them aren't technicians. They don't actually work on the cars, but you talk to that actual customer, and just those, sometimes the smallest little detail is what you need to figure it out, to duplicate it. Or like you say, sometimes you just can't get something to happen and you need to have them drive the car like they normally would. And like you said, with noises, those are probably even some of the worst. Even all the crazy like network issues that we deal with and everything, that can be challenging. But man, noises, I remember the guy said there was some clunking or slapping noise in the front of the car, and it was suspension. He knew it was in the tire, and we could not get it to do it. And finally we drove it with him, and he'd roll his window down like a quarter of the way, and there was a piece of weather stripping that when he did that, it was slapping around. And that was the noise. It was something stupid like that. And we wasted hours on it trying to find a noise in the front end. And yeah, just go drive it with them and they'll find it.
Again, I'm sorry. I know this isn't drivability, man, but I need to say this story. Number two reason why I always like talking to the customer. Number one, have you ever, since you said mentioned Firestone, when I worked at the dealer, I had a service ticket. It was a 2000. It was like a 2 year, like a 1 or 2 year old Tiburon. Complaint was he's taking it to various alignment shops, and for some reason nobody can align it. I got handed to me. I'm like, why? All right, whatever. I ain't got nothing to do. Throw it on the rack. She's perfect. Nah, I'm talking perfect. She's perfect. I'm like, what's this guy talking about? Like, I see the ticket. I go back and see the ticket again. It says waiter. I'm like, man, what's? Let me go talk to the customer. Let me see what's going on. And this was after that first issue. Maybe I get some more information. Like, what's it doing? Why do you want an alignment? I go out there and I see the customer. This is tiny, tiny little guy. And we're talking, like, he's like, yeah, I don't know why nobody can align it. I got into like this little accident. It's never been right since. And I'm like, oh, accident. Okay, that makes sense. Tell me some more. Like, what's going on? And oh, honey, what else did we feel or something? I'm a big dude. I'm fat as shit. Sorry, you can edit that out. But this lady was a nice sized lady. Like she was pretty big. So I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, at this point, like in the back of my head, I'm like, dude, that's the problem. this is a very small car. Like have you seen it? You've seen a Tiburon, obviously, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little two-door sports car, but they're not that big. Like, I'm like, shoot, how am I gonna do this? Like,
That's a very sensitive topic
yeah,
to
yeah, no,
approach.
because I've always been heavy, even though like when I was at the dealer, I was maybe like, I don't know, like 270 maybe. I wasn't as big as I am now. But I'm like, shoot, what do I do? What do I do? I tell my service writer, look, man, I go, we got two options. We actually have three options. Option number one, we tell this customer, listen, man, I'm gonna need to take your wife and throw her on the alignment rack. We don't do the work and tell her we can't figure it out, which is kind of unacceptable because we are the dealership. We are the number one solution. I said, are you convinced the two biggest dudes here to sit in the passenger seat on top of each other and give me 20 minutes? He's like, why can't you ask him? I said, this is your job. So we had to get the manager to ask some two somewhat big dudes to sit in the passenger seat for 20 minutes while I aligned this thing. I finished it, and then I went and drove the car. The car is like this. I was like, all right, hey sir, can you go test drive this vehicle and see if it's to your specification, please? Oh, you stay right here, honey. I'm like, no, no, no. It's always better to have your cars driven how you normally drive them. So you guys go ahead, and that way she can help hear anything else. But I'd go with you, but I'm as you can see, I'm really big. I can't fit in the back. And they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. They took off. They took off. He's like, oh my god, my car's perfect again. I'm just like, oh, oh. Oh man, that was a great experience.
Yeah, that's
Going back
amazing.
to drivability, I also have another rule. Um, you you test in their environment. Like anytime you have any sort of intermittent issue, like you stress everything as much as you can. I mean, like I can't stress that enough. How like I went to a shop one time and they had some evap issues. They threw the it was a GM evap at that, and they threw the book at this car. I went to do a PCM. I did the PCM, the program it, I mean, and they called me back 2 days later that the car's back, and like, oh, it's not your fault, but we also know you do diag, and we need your help, blah blah blah. So it was a Silverado, and I I went through the motions, man, and everything was perfect. Like obviously GM is kind of like I don't really smoke GM. I kind of like it's usually either the purge valve or the solenoid, man. Like I mean, or the
Yeah.
vent valve, purge valve or the vent solenoid. I mean, it's not really anything else, honestly. And GM is very straightforward. Or sometimes you get pressure sensor issues. I did everything and it was working perfectly. I go underneath and I start looking, and I'm like, I look at the vent. Oh, it was a not OEM part. I'm like, well, even OEM parts fail, obviously, So I was just like, let me exercise this thing. So there you go. Here I go with my trusty power probe, and I'm just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I think after the 20th time, man, it just said "F you." It just said nope, nope, and nope. It stopped working. So I waited like 10 minutes. And this time I bidirectionally controlled it. I wanted to exercise the driver, make sure that the PCM they got me was still good. I mean, you never know, obviously, right? So same thing. Another this time it was like 6 or 7 times. It stopped working. It was a bad event. But what I'm saying is that sometimes you just don't take that extra step you know in condemning something or saying it's good. Because you're not testing in its living environment. Like, how many times does it cycle? I don't even know. I don't really know how many times a purge event solenoid cycles whenever the PCM wants it to.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. These components are, going down the road for hundreds or thousands of miles, working however many times. And yeah, just hitting the
Mhm.
button once or moving that motor one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not simulating what's happening in real life. And so that's where you're going to catch it.
Yeah. So so the intermittent stuff, you got something that you recently got your behind kicked on?
Well, the ones that I've had recently, again, it's mobile. So, I got a day's schedule. Like I'm going to try to go here at this time and then to this shop then. And so I kind of allot myself only a certain amount of time at a specific shop, and I give myself some leeway because stuff happens. But if I get to that threshold and I can't get it to do anything, and I've asked the questions and talked, it's challenging because I'm talking to the shop, the owner, the manager, whatever, and I don't actually I rarely, if ever, talk to the customer as a mobile technician. Where at least as a tech in a shop, I could pick up the phone and call them, but I don't do that as a mobile technician. So you're getting secondhand information. And yeah, if I can't get it to do it in a certain amount of time, like you said, hey, get this to happen more frequently. Otherwise, there's not much I can do. Here's my thoughts. These codes are pointing this direction, but I can't charge you for a diagnosis on this. So yeah, they're really challenging, and depending on how intermittent it is, that can be one of the worst things we deal with as technicians.
Yeah. So that's that's definitely the biggest challenge that I've seen in mobile. To me, it has been time management. I have to manage my time, and I also have to um I know when and where I can go due to traffic. I don't know. I'm pretty sure you don't have that issue here, but traffic is a big problem here. It's a lot better because school's out and everything, but when traffic is traffic, it's bad, man. I mean, my ride home is like six miles, and it's sometimes during bad traffic, it's like 45, 50 minutes to get home.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it's we're so tight here, and so I have that against me. I also have my biggest one is I'll go out to a shop and they're like, "Oh, since I got you here, can you check this one out?" And I'm like, "No." They're like, "Oh, come on, man, it's not gonna take you long." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Dude, I literally have my day scheduled as best as I can. So you either piss somebody off, and they're like, all right, well, can you come back tomorrow?" Well, no, like my morning's full, so you're almost kind of like somewhat obliged to do it because you're right there. And remember what I'm telling you, like if I can't find a scheduling during that same time, I I may lose the job. And I don't know if you run into this in your area, but I'd say 70% of my diags are about 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. Like they're really not super difficult. Like I got called out to diagnose a town and country that was killing the battery because the fuel pump was turning on and they're not sure why. So
Okay.
I get there and I scan some codes. I didn't find any codes. I turn the key off and lo and behold, the fuel pump's still running. I pull the I pull the fuse and fuel pump stopped. It's an internal relay. I mean, I could have checked my signal wire and whatever, but there's the car's off. The computer's not doing anything right now, so it's stuck relay. So I got $130 to tell this guy something I could have told him over the phone, but I'm not going to because it's my business. But the point was that I I can sometimes do them pretty quickly. That I don't. I'll just say screw it. I'll take it. But then 9 times out of 10, of course, that's the one that kicks my butt.
Yep.
So now I've been there for another 2 hours. Now I'm into traffic, and now I got a couple other shops, a little upset with me because I missed my deadlines. And of course, they tell their customers and whatever. So then I work late. That's been my biggest problem mobile is time management.
Yeah, it's a juggling act, and yeah, you don't know what you're going to go into. Some of
Now,
that
if
stuff
it's
is nice. You get that phone call and going there. Okay, I'm pretty sure I know what this problem is. Like you said, I'm not going to tell them over the phone, but yeah, then you get those ones that just kick your ass, and you don't see it. Obviously you don't see it coming, and screws up the whole rest of your day. So that is a very challenging part about what we're trying to do.
Yeah, programming honestly is much more easier. Like the biggest issue I have with programming in terms of time management, it's always that one particular shop that basically just chucked the PCM at a car. You programmed them and you're done. Now it didn't fix their issue. And they're not blaming you, but they want you to help them out. They want you to fix it. And they're willing to pay your diag fee. But now it's like, well, I can't. My biggest issue is like the time. Like, well, I'll come back tomorrow, but then I have those time frames booked, so I have to come back when there's traffic. So that means your 20-minute ride is now 40, 50 minutes, and another 40, 50 minutes my way back. So it's just like, oh, I might as well just knock it out now because I'm already here. So that's my particular problem.
Yeah, that's actually how I've gotten a lot of my diagnostic jobs, or the shops that use me for diagnostics now. It's because they called me for programming. It didn't fix what they were hoping it was going to fix. And then they're like, well, you're here. Do you want to take a look at it? The shops in my area didn't really start calling me for diagnostics. There's a couple, but that was kind of how I got my foot in the door, was doing the module updates and configuration and all that stuff. And then it just sort of, it was a stepping stone to to figure out their problems.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. It's the lack of training is dangerously bad. Like it's bad. Like, and part of what we're trying to do is also like try to fuel the fire. We caught a lot of grief at the beginning because of you know YouTubers have a real bad reputation for giving away industry secrets, trade secrets, and I'll be honest with you, man. I don't totally disagree with it. I don't totally agree with it because obviously, like, we're on YouTube, we have a bunch of pages, and I'll never knock anybody's hustle, man. Like, you do what you got to do, but I definitely feel like there can be a little bit more focus on trying to better the industry in other ways. But I also have the opinion that it's here, and it can be a very valuable tool, and it's not for everybody's liking or disliking. It's just, it is what it is. Um, I know a bunch of YouTubers, and I consider them friends. I like them all. There's some I don't like. There's some videos that I do not like, but it's definitely a great platform for our vision. Like, we want to just, hey man, look at this. Look at these tools, boss. Like, we can be doing that instead of, you remember that car we had last week that we couldn't fix. I think this could have helped us. And if you have a decent shop owner who's willing to invest, you may be able to create a better job for yourself, or at least get the knowledge and the aptitude to be like, you know what, man, I can work somewhere better.
Like you were saying, to just show that opportunity to somebody who hasn't been, or maybe can't go to vision yet at this point in their career. They don't have the funds or the means to do that. But just to see, okay, this is the potential, these are the people that are out there. These are tools that are out there. Without something like that, maybe they'll never know about it. And I've talked about this before with people before, like Facebook and YouTube stuff. I kind of thought I was on an island, doing my diagnostic stuff and enjoying that. But to find out that there's so many more people out there that enjoy it the same way I do, it's a really cool way to just expand out and meet people the same, just like-minded individuals,
Yeah, there's definitely a bunch of awesome individuals, a bunch of awesome shop owners that I talk to, and super grateful for all their advice that they've given me. There's also, you know, uh, there's also like when I have a particular point of view when it comes to tech versus shop owner, and some of these shop owners in these groups, I'll read their posts and I'm just like, Jesus Christ. I go, no wonder nobody wants to be in this field anymore. And it's just pretty bad. But then it fills my heart when I see some of the great ones posting their numbers, and for whatever reason it may be, whether it be for gloating or for like, hey man, I did it, you can do it too. Whatever the reasons are is their own business. But me seeing that somebody can make those kind of numbers being an independent facility, man, it makes me so happy. It won't. I doubt that I'll ever get there, especially where I'm at. But my path might be something different. I don't know. We'll see where it takes me. But that in a nutshell is trained by Tex, man. Just trying to help the industry, man, and maybe one day we become, a training company. It's I don't know what's possible. I mean, 3 years ago we were just a bunch of dudes getting drunk here in Chicago. We met up at a bar over in Logan Square. I mean, that was our first get together, man, and there's not a day that I don't talk to one of the guys, whether it be Keith or Bryn, um, Chris, DeFazio. We're family now, man. Like we're super close. Even, and it's like I'll we'll see them fairly often. That it's just like, hey, what's up, man? Like, it's kind of like, when you see somebody every day, you're like, hey, what's up? And that's just how we are. Like, we talk to each other, we see each other. Our wives know each other now. Like, it's amazing, man. It's been actually a great honor for me to be a part of this group, man. And I'm hoping to be able to elevate it. Hopefully after this COVID stuff is over.
Yeah, well, I have no doubt you guys will. That's awesome. Well, to kind of wrap up here, do you have any specific recommendations? I always like to ask the people on the show if you got any recommendation for either a younger tech or just somebody that's looking to better their skills in this field. And it could be, a training resource. It could be a tool. It could be a video. Do you have any suggestions like that for anybody listening?
Yeah, man. Definitely. Our stuff is not bad. It's just normally not, novice level. But there's definitely a lot of great material. Honestly, there's a lot of good material on YouTube. There's some really great pages. There's a lot of the guys who are they're upstanding professionals, man. Like, they're really, really good. Um, but like myself, for example, and I have the situation because my nephew decided this is what he wants to do. So I've kind of taken him under my wing. Um, I tooling wise, um, this is what I did. Nobody has to follow my own path. But the first tool that I purchased was actually a scan tool. I was on my own at the shop. Remember, like I said, it was a small tire shop. I said, you know what? I can run out to Sears to buy a wrench. I can run to Sears to buy this or buy a screwdriver. Who's gonna loan me a $5,000 scan tool, right? So that was my first purchase. I purchased a scan tool on credit because I didn't have any money. I was going to school at the time, and
Which scan tool was it? Just
a
curious.
Matco Determinator.
Okay.
The first one, yeah, that was my first scan tool, man. I
Awesome.
wish I still had it, man, but that was my first scan tool. Um, Stay away from the big boxes. I have a beautiful box. I love my box, but it. I started professionally wrenching in 2004. I bought it maybe like 2 years ago. So I waited a long time to buy my box. Um, I hate saying this because I didn't do it this way. I thank the tool trucks for the opportunity because I didn't have anything, man, and they all gave me credit. Um, and I'm very thankful for them to this day. But nowadays, I would suggest to stay off the trucks. Um, there's a lot of quality stuff out there. Uh, tools. Pick up a meter. You know, pick up a solid meter. In terms of resources, I think a really good resource for beginners would be ATG. It's that they're just so chock full of knowledge, and it's it's just amazing how well this gentleman has worded these books, man. That you don't even have to have a lot of schooling to understand what the point they're trying to make, and I think ATG is a really wonderful resource. Um, CTI is also great. They have a lot of great classes. You can do them locally. They're fairly inexpensive. Your boss should be able to cover that. Um, and just you know, another thing you can do, honestly, the auto scope is a very good scope for the price. Honestly, just I don't like the leads too much, but if you really want to get into scoping and don't have Pico money, get an auto. There's nothing wrong. There's or an old Varus, an old Modus Vantage.
Sure.
You can find them for about $400, man. I mean, those are solid scopes, man. Like I said, I really for the money, I really like the otoscope. Um, as long as you learn the limitations of your tooling, you're gonna be fine. Um, and lastly, man, I think if I were, and this is me talking to myself when I first started out, I would have, I think I wouldn't have went to UTI. Don't get me wrong, I had a great time. Um, I met some wonderful instructors who changed my life, and I'll forever be grateful to them. Um, but I I feel like I might have been better served going to a college with a technical um, course instead of just going to a school that really didn't do much in terms of like uh, credits and stuff like that. Like it's kind of like my thought at the time was like, well, I don't really want to take any English classes or science classes or anything like that. I want to learn how to work on cars. That was my logic. But going back, I would definitely look at a local school or a local community college that has an automotive class. Um, and like I said, I'm not talking bad about UTI. I'm not talking bad about Lincoln Tech. If that's your decision, amen, go for it. But I think long term, you're better served because you actually have accredited hours. Like you get an associate's degree. That's something. If, let's say, God forbid, you hurt your back and you can't wrench anymore, well, you have a little bit of something to fall back on. Like me, if something happens to me, I'm kind of sort of somewhat screwed. Because I won't be able to wrench or whatever. But having some sort of degree or something will help you take the next level. That's what I would really look into: community college versus a trade school.
Well, that's all great stuff. And for the websites and stuff that you mentioned, ATG and that, I'm gonna make notes of that in the show notes for anybody
Hmm.
that's listening wants to check those things out. But yeah, unless you got anything else, just want to say thanks for coming on today and talking. This was great.
Yeah, one last thing, man. Feel free to check out the Train by Text website, trainbytext.com. Like you said earlier, we have our calendar up. Brian, you've done an amazing job with our calendar. He keeps it up to date. And when COVID's over, man, we have literally every event on their dates and everything links. We try to keep everybody informed because that's been one of the issues too. Like there was literally zero advertising before. And now with the advent of social media, I think it's easier to get the word out. So, you know, go to YouTube. We're always doing stuff on there. Hopefully we'll have a discussion after dark soon. Yeah, man, we got good things coming, man. So just make sure you go to our YouTube page, hit like, subscribe, and yeah, man, follow, go to the website and keep up with us, and we won't lead you astray.
Yeah, I encourage everybody to do that, to check that out if you haven't already. Okay, one more big thank you to Tomi. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that interview. Hope to have him back again soon on the show. I also want to thank everybody else for listening today. Hopefully, you gained something, you learned something today. If anyone would like to be a guest on the show in the near future, make sure to check out the Facebook group for Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. You can contact me there or send me a message on Facebook, and we'll get you on the show. I'm definitely interested to talk to anybody in the automotive field that's passionate about it, has something interesting to say. Other than that, let's all get out there and start fixing the world one car at a time.